Spills, Pills, and the Midnight Lasagna. It is the latest episode of The Conners. Let's talk about it. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It, and time to talk about The Conners. We are up to episode 10 now of season 4, Spills, Pills, and the Midnight Lasagna. We're going to talk about it in just a moment, but first, I do want to welcome you into Dan Reviews It. I want to encourage you as well to subscribe down below there. Hit that subscribe button, maybe even the notification bell next to it, so you know when I drop all of my TV and movie reviews, including week-by-week recaps and reviews of the new Conners episodes. And of course, comment below. I love interacting with you guys over the comments about these episodes. So let's get into this one. So interestingly enough, even though there are three main topics in the title, Spills, Pills, Midnight Lasagna, the second two are of the same plot line, which is really the A story here. So Pills and Midnight Lasagna, we're going to put that on hold for a second. We're going to talk about the Spills first. And this is something that we're starting to deal with in the last episode, and this is about Jackie and her boyfriend Neville, her 25-year younger boyfriend Neville, and his ex Helen getting into the picture. And it does sort of relate a little bit to the other part of the story, because Logan, who is Mark's boyfriend, is Helen's son. So we do factor in there, but again, we'll sort of put that part of the episode on hold and just sort of talk about the Spills portion. So Jackie is, laid up from a basketball foul that happened last week in the episode, and she really hurt her ankle and her knee and all of this. So she is on one of those like ankle scooters at the restaurant, serving stew that way. And does not want to appear weak or, old for Neville. Obviously Helen is more his age, and they dated in college, so they have a little bit of a history together. But no, Jackie's sprained ankle is not going to let her down. She is determined to be one of the gang and prove how young she is. So she says she's going to go on this hike, and then immediately basically collapses on the floor as soon as she loses the scooter. So she goes to the doctor hoping to get some pills, which sort of does lead into the pills a little bit, but no dice there. He wants to prescribe her some heavy-duty ibuprofen. She says, forget this. But Lacey Gorson's character, Becky, she might have made a love connection with the doctor. So the rest of the episode, we hear about this hot doctor, and she wants to, FaceTime him and ask him about, one of Mark's issues that we'll get into. And then at the end of the episode, or towards it anyway, we see her sort of creeping on this guy's social media, and she finds out he's a Harry Potter cosplayer, so she decides she is out from that. And then we've got the Pills and the Midnight Lasagna. That is really the A story here. All of that stuff I mentioned is sort of the B. But this is a Mark-centric episode. We only get maybe 2 of these a season. He's in, a bunch of episodes, sort of in a very, very supporting capacity, but we get usually like 2, maybe 3 episodes that are focused on the Mark character, and this is certainly one of them. So in the beginning of the episode, we see that he is, on the dean's list, and everybody's happy and celebrating that, and his boyfriend Logan is there, and Dan and Ben is there. No tension between Ben and Darlene in this particular scene, but great to always see him. And he is a big part of Mark's life, so makes sense that he would be there to celebrate the Dean's List. But we sort of get the notion that, okay, well, maybe Mark is getting an eating disorder because he refuses to have any of the cake that they're serving. Okay, well, obviously they're sort of laying the groundwork there. But as the episode progresses, we find out he bakes this midnight lasagna because he was up all night studying and blames it on the coffee. But, he made this midnight lasagna for everybody to, sort of occupy his mind a little bit. And Darlene is like, well, wait a second, he doesn't even drink coffee, so what is going on with this? So she confronts him. Jackie thinks it's cocaine, and mentions her old truck driving buddies. I love that, by the way, that they bring back, old stuff from 25 years ago in episodes of the original Roseanne. Jackie being a truck driver, that stuff just kind of comes up, and because it's part of the family's history, and it's natural. Like, I certainly talk about stuff that happened 25, 30 years ago, in my family with my brothers and whatever. So I love that they throw and it's so effortless, it's not shoehorned in. I just love that. So Darlene confronts him, and no, it turns out he is taking these ADHD pills, which turn out to be Logan's pills. So now we're going to have to maybe break them up and see where that goes from there. But in the interim, she debates pulling Mark out of this magnet school, because if he can't make it without, being on drugs or staying up all night or not eating. So it's not necessarily an eating disorder. It is a, I'm on these pills, and so I'm not hungry because of them kind of thing. And so by the end of the episode, she makes the decision to, yes, I'm going to pull you out. And there's no shame in it. Like, it's cool. We're going to put you back in public school. You're going to shine there. Many people have gone on to very great college careers after being in public school. He doesn't want to hear any of that, and gets into a little bit of a verbal sort of match with his mother about, well, nobody's happy here. You all went to public school, you did not make successes of yourself, X, Y, and Z. And, to be honest, it could have played off as another one of these, like, tantrums sort of that, like, Harris has done in the past. But the way it was written, it really read as, and it wasn't necessarily comedic, although there were a couple of laughs in there about how nobody in the family is actually happy. But it was written in a real mother to son conversation. Yes, a little bit of an argument, but it was not filled with all this hostility and volatility that we've seen with Harris. And I thought that was really, really true to both Mark and Darlene's characters, because, she just wants to be there for him, and she wants him to succeed. And I know she, probably feels guilty about putting him in the magnet school to begin with, because he feels overwhelmed there and X, Y, and Z. But I thought it was a very, very well scripted moment, that argument between the two of them. So I loved that. And that's pretty much where we landed at the end of that storyline. Mark basically says, I hate you. Darlene says, well, I'm doing my job then. And then she sort of looks up to the heavens and says, well, Mom, you were right. I did say that when I had kids. A couple of Roseanne sort of references in this episode, because not only did we have that moment with Darlene, but a little bit earlier, Darlene and Dan were on the couch talking about some things. And of course, as we know in the lore of the Connors, Roseanne died because of a pill addiction. So, obviously Dan made that parallel. I actually had not made that parallel. I guess I sort of forgot how she died or whatever, just wasn't thinking about it. But great parallel there. And I was glad they brought that up. So this topic of the pills is certainly not new to sitcoms. The two main ones that come to mind for me are Family Ties, when Alex was taking Mallory's friend Effie's speed pills. Wow, I probably haven't seen that episode in 20 years, and I still remember Mallory's friend's name that was never mentioned again. But anyway, so that came to mind immediately for me with Family Ties. But then, of course, you got Saved by the Bell, that classic episode of I'm so excited, I'm so scared, because she ends up being on, with them it was caffeine pills, because that was a very, very, Saturday morning, PG-rated, more kids show. So they did caffeine pills for her, but it was originally supposed to be speed, from what I understand. And the NBC censors were like, dude, it's Saturday morning at 11 o'clock. Like, come on. So they changed it to caffeine pills. But those are the two that come to mind for me. Saved by the Bell comes off as more campy, as it always sort of did. But the Family Ties episode, was, it was sort of in that vein of, this is a very special episode. They used to do that all the time in the 80s. Blossom every other week was a very special episode. And Family Ties did have a handful. They had the one where Alex's friend got killed in the car accident, and the one where Tom Hanks comes on as Uncle Ned and is an alcoholic. And so, You know, and Roseanne sort of carried that tradition along. They were never billed as this is, you know, next week on Blossom, a very special episode. It was never billed like that because I think other than, as opposed to those shows where the episode was almost entirely dramatic. They sort of, in fact, in some of the cases, they took the laugh track out even and was like, okay, we'll just, you know, focus on the tragedy here. But Roseanne never shied away from that. Of course, its greatest strength, I think, as I've said many times, is that balance between the comedy and the real life hard hitting drama. And we see that here with the pills. And even in that conversation, you know, between Darlene and Mark. So the episode ends, by the way, with a little tag scene with Harris. Harris was, I forget if she was, I think she was in the last episode, just minor appearance. But a couple of episodes ago, before they quit for the winter break, we had the episode where her and Darlene really got into it about this dude Aldo that she is potentially living with. She wants to live with him, and Darlene says no. He's, you know, just using you for free childcare, and he's 15 years older than you, and I don't like this. And so they had a big falling out there. So at the end of this episode, we learned that Harris has actually been living in Dan's camper, Dan and Louise's camper out back. Him and Becky go out and think it's like a squirrel or a possum or something, and so they're ready, you know, with a shovel or whatever, and turns out, no, it's Harris back there, and they agree to all sort of keep it secret from Darlene in a pretty funny moment where she's like, well, you know, my mom can't find out or she'll know she was right, and Dan's just like, yeah, we can't have that. All right, so that's everything that happens in this episode. I've already given a couple of my thoughts, but here are a few more. I think this is the best episode of the season so far. This, to me, harkens back to those brilliant, like, season 2, season 3, season 4 episodes of the original Roseanne. Tons of laughs. I think this is maybe one of the funniest episodes of the season. But then also, you know, some real deal stuff. And you don't necessarily have to have been following along with these last few episodes. You could have watched this episode fresh. Mark mentions my boyfriend Logan at the very beginning. So, okay, we established that. Then we established Helen is the mother because Helen and Neville come in, to pick him up and have that conversation with Jackie. So then they sort of recap a little bit about, okay, the basketball game. So everything that we need to know going into this episode, we learn during it. And it was very, very well put together. It was written brilliantly, funny as hell. I mean, Dan, once again, the MVP of the episode is John Goodman. I mean, I guess I could do MVPs for every episode, but it would almost be useless because I feel like it would just rotate between John Goodman and Laurie Metcalf and maybe sometimes Lacey Goranson in there. But Dan, once again, part of every single plot line. He doesn't have a plot line of his own in this episode, but doling out advice to Darlene. There at the Dean's List celebration at the beginning of the episode. There with Becky talking about the hot doctor. And then there at the end with Harris living in the camper. So he's just sort of putting himself in all of these situations. And there was one scene, and I can't remember what the joke was or what the scene was, but it was, I think, in the kitchen. But at one point, he just makes this like head tilt. And I just thought, man, that guy can wring laughs out of, nothing. Just sort of by a look. And, so he nailed it. Funny stuff from him. But the whole episode was really put together very well. And it's funny. Yes, we've seen the pill thing before, Family Ties, Saved by the Bell. But those episodes are now 30 plus years old. And yes, okay, there was a little pill stuff, obviously, with Roseanne when she died a few seasons ago. But this is not what I would call a tried and true plot line. It's not something that sitcoms trot out every year. Not every sitcom has a pill episode. So I actually think it was very, very sound to do it like this. And it also makes sense a little bit because I noticed Mark, now that he's grown a bit, he's certainly shot up from the last few years. But even I think from winter break, I think he's shot up from there. But he is this really tall, skinny dude. Darlene and David, Johnny Galecki is no tall guy either. I think they probably top out at about 5'6", 5'7". These are short people. So Mark in the scene with Darlene is just towering over him. And I just thought to myself, well, this is a brilliant way to sort of work in his very lean body that he has not been eating much lately, because of these ADHD pills. So even that in itself is a sort of a smart plot device, because it's very noticeable how tall he is compared to especially Darlene, his own mother. But, John Goodman's kind of tall, so you could see, okay, well, maybe it skipped a generation and he's getting the tall genes from Grandpa Dan. But, I just thought that was very, sort of noticeable. So I don't know if that was the catharsis for, I don't know if that was the reason for let's have the plot be about that, but in any event, I thought it was very clever. So I loved this episode. This is an A from me. Best of the season so far. I'm dying to hear what you guys think in the comments. Was this up there for you guys as well? Or, did it miss the mark? Are you still, thinking about Alex P. Keaton from Family Ties and his pill problem back in the day? No, I think this was a really, really strong episode. I leave it with that A. So we will be back next week. There's a whole another new episode. Very excited about that. After that, I don't know. There's nothing listed so far for, I guess it would be, the 25th? So it could be a rerun. I don't remember the last time we had 4 new episodes in a row of the Connors, but stranger things have happened, I suppose, but probably a repeat, and then we'll be back for February sweeps. Actually, that's probably exactly what it is, because they'll take the week off, and then February sweeps will have another 2 or 3 new ones probably right in a row there. So anyway, but we will be back next week. Thanks for watching, and we'll see everybody then. Bye.